Here you go. So sorry if I'm a little loud on some of these, but I am trying to talk over traffic. And I'm trying to kick that southern drawl. It is infectious, like COVID. The whole way down, I was going, do not start speaking the southern drawl. I don't mind it, hearing other people speak it, but I like being in Jersey. I like my roots. Here's something David might want to read, or anybody who, it's easy to find online. It's free. Typically, we don't, like the people writing this stuff, they don't, not typically trying to get any money for it. So you can find it for free online. It's by Fiona Barnett, Eyes Wide Open. It covers things like Watergate was Pedogate, Royal Whitewash, Victorian Pedophile Network, NSW Pedophile Network, Bond University Pedophile Network, The Greater Good, Conspiracy Fact, Justice Denied, MK Ultra, and a cult, MK Ultra in Australia. You guys should look into the MK Ultra program. Sydney Satanists, ritual abuse in Australia, MK Delta, trauma-focused integration, stuff like that. There you go, just in case you guys want to know more about it. Oh, and by the way, a little tack on to the last video I put out. I'm not trying to incite David Saint Sing to hurt anybody. Although he said he'd wipe people off the face of the earth. I'm perfectly satisfied. I don't condone violence. I'm very satisfied with, why don't you, David, do what I said I would do if I had your money, which is, I said I would hire a private investigator of my own, like a PI and a research assistant, and they'd help me do a lot of the legwork, trying to get these networks rounded up and shut down. So, yeah, like do like, some real good instead of flattering myself with fancy designer oysters and expensive tequila. CIA trafficked the kids, the FBI covered their tracks. Oh, my. Did you see that? You remember how in the last one I said that Tracy Twyman went to the FBI and turned up dead. You remember that, right? By the way, I'm not necessarily even, we're not even, I wanted to point out something. When it comes to considering how big this network might be, it's probably at least as big as the number of Freemasons we have on the books in the world. Now, again, I'm not saying every Freemason is in on it. I'm saying that the network is probably at least as big as the Freemason network, which actually isn't that big when you consider, we have armies and militaries and navies and such that work together towards a unified goal, and they keep themselves organized and strategic. Freemasons clock in, last time I checked, at about 6 million worldwide on the books. One thing I want you to keep in mind, when you're dealing with, like, say, Freemasons, you're not just dealing with the Freemasons themselves. You have to consider who do they have at their back as well. They have their spouses, children, siblings, business associates, and business partners. Now, that's something I want you to consider is there will be people I'll be coming up against that aren't necessarily even in this network and don't necessarily do anything bad to kids. But they're in business with those who do. And if these are businessmen that are just highly narcissistic and they just care about their bottom dollar, they might be inclined, a lot of them will definitely be inclined to just look the other way. They don't care about what their business associates, business partners do behind closed doors or what they're helping them get away with. So if, say, even if they owe a debt, like they need to pay off a private island they own, I don't know, something like that. And then let's say that they're approached by somebody they owe the money to for that island, or I don't know. This is just a for instance, and they're told like, hey, you want this debt paid clean? Okay, well, there's something I need you to do for me. I just need you to give this chick the runaround. She's a pain in my tush and my friend's tushes. She gets involved all up in our business, and We want her to shut up and stop, and we just want her to, like, get worn down. So just give her the runaround, and then fire her. Give her the runaround for a little while and fire her at the worst possible moment for her, too. You know, like, when it's really, like, the middle of holidays, and there's next to no work, and she has next to no money, and we'll call it square on what you owe us for the island. You know, like, he doesn't necessarily have to be the person effing with me, messing with me. Doesn't necessarily have to be involved with the actual network itself. They just have to be callous enough to not care about what they're doing, and just want to benefit from rubbing their backs, or dumb enough to be tricked into helping them because they don't ask questions. Oh, look, this involves the Clintons, Barack Obama, CIA, FBI. Oh, my. Oh, some celebrities. Kevin Spacey. Royalty, Prince Andrew. This mentions Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein's not dead, by the way. Go look at the ear. Google Jeffrey Epstein ear and go have a look. It's not the same ear. Our ears don't change, not even after death, not that close after death, you know. They don't change like that. Neither do the slopes of our noses. Pay attention. You people, see, they're too busy doing things like what David's doing, sucking down oysters and expensive tequila. And they're not paying attention to this stuff. That's the real important stuff, actually. This is the real important stuff. So I told David, if I had his money, that's what I would do with it. I would make some of it, obviously, self-sustainable. I would reinvest into good investments that I know would be self-sustainable, would bring in more money. And that way I could focus all of my efforts and attentions on getting these people shut down. And even maybe hire some help, like research assistant. That's what I would do. So by wiping them off the face of the earth, David, I'm perfectly willing to accept you just getting them thrown in prison, using your efforts and your money, donating it to the cause to get these people thrown into prison cells for what they're doing to children, instead of being a pain in my ass and getting in my way trying to do it. So I'm one of the few people out there actually have the guts to try. When you consider the kinds of people I'm taking on. Yeah, so more to come. There's enough information about all this out there and it's well researched and it's well organized. I'm not the most organized, especially how much can you blame me? I'm getting bounced all around the place by a bunch of disgusting pigs that equally have way more money than I do and could easily donate it to the cause, or at the very least just stop messing with me, doing things like promising me long-term jobs when they have no intention of really keeping their word on that. And spying on me. I'm a U.S. citizen, David. What do I do when I get angry? I raise my voice. Keep in mind, David Sainsing might be cool as a cucumber, but he spies on his U.S. citizen employees using illegal immigrants. I don't trust the people who are cool as cucumbers all the time. There's plenty of reasons to get angry and upset, so long as you're not violating human rights. By all means, raise your voice. Just so you know where I stand on that. I'm happy to raise my voice and yell if it's something worth yelling about. But I do try very hard not to go around violating human rights, David. Oh, look, they're talking about Marc Dutroux. The Dutroux dossier. The Dutroux affair. That was the monster of Belgium. That man did awful things. I won't call it a man. It's a creature. Awful, awful things. 2 of his victims died in a hole in the ground, in the dark, in his basement. They starved to death. That's what I'm trying to do, David. Get that shit stopped and shut down. And you're playing with your construction site toys and showing me off to hunters and sucking down expensive tequila and expensive farm oysters. Hey, there were plenty of locally harvested oysters being sold over at Sherman's. Why don't you go pick some of those up? Instead, you went to a special oyster farm nearby. You told me. So this is what I do with a lot of my free time. So David, again, bragged to me that he's a hard worker. So I'm a hard worker. I would go into that barn first thing in the morning and feed those horses and water them and hay them and scoop their shit up. And I'd do that several times a day and take people out on rides sometimes and at least tack people up for rides, so on and so forth. Dig trenches in the middle of storms and hurricanes. And then I'd go back to my RV and I'd read some of this stuff and or think about some of this stuff and try to figure out more ways to get these people caught. Try to make more connections. Try to do like my core workout exercises and walk back and forth, talk to myself, try to figure out how these people work. Walking back and forth or doing my exercises tends to get the juices flowing, gets my mind going. Yep. There's a lot of information here you could be reading, David. Bring yourself up to speed in all this. What are you teaching your kids to value, David? Is it just to value money? Do they just know how to validate themselves by how much material bullshit they have? I'm just wondering. Because that's why, this stuff right here that I'm showing you, that's why this goes unnoticed. Because the world's just filling up with narcissistic people like you don't know how to properly validate yourselves. I validate myself based on the quality of my character, not on how much material bullshit I have. I'm just wondering if you're teaching your children proper ways of validating themselves. Because, if you validate yourself based on just, the newest thing you've bought or accomplished or achieved or conquered, that's only going to last for a little while, and then you're going to be flitting off to the next purchase and the next whatever workshop. I'm going to learn how to knit. I'm going to learn how to do clay. I'm going to weave. I'm going to be a weaver. I'm going to be a jewelry maker. I'm going to buy that next property. I'm going to buy that car. I'm going to show off that nice tequila. Then what? What next? What's the next thing you're going to need to validate yourselves? I don't need to be validated. I need to get child abusers shut down. You see how it's really unfair that pathetic creatures like David Same Thing have so many resources, and human beings like myself with real integrity and quality of character get bounced around in an RV and have next to nothing. It's really insulting when then those pieces of shit like David start bragging to us about what hard workers they are. Do you know how fucking insulting you are to someone like me, David, who's going up against people like this, knowing that people like, Tracy Twyman turn up dead, disappear, Isaac Cappy, Joan Coleman, people don't live very long doing what I'm doing. And still I'm doing it. And still I was shoveling your horse's shit and still doing it. Or trying. You guys made it harder and harder and harder. Do you know how insulting it is then to be told by a little prick like you that you're to be bragged to that you're a hard worker? David, you are a coward. I'm a hard worker. And I'm brave. I got bigger balls than you, my friend. It's really, you could not know how insulting you are. You're too stupid to know how stupid you are. That's kind of the point. That's kind of the gist behind that. So, Yeah, there's a lot here. Go on. Go have a look at it. It's just one little, oh my gosh, one little PDF. Free. Totally free. Go find it. Like I said, it's by Fiona Barnett. Let's get back to that top real fast. Sorry, I've always been kind of a jokester once you get to know me. Fiona Barnett, Eyes Wide Open. There you go. And like I said, I'm not expecting any kind of violence. Like by wipe them off the face of the earth. I'm perfectly willing to accept help the cause, David. Get them thrown in prison. And it's not enough to just give money to a charity every year. No. Because remember how I said in the last video, these people have already been found guilty of it's been testified in open court by a social worker that they've infiltrated foundations set up to help stop them, and then they get them shut down. So you don't know if you're funding a child brothel. Like, are you really looking into it? So many people out there, they'll give like $20 to charity every month and tell themselves they're good people. And it couldn't be further from the truth. Because, like, did you know, because you weren't really looking into it, did you know you're actually funding a child brothel? You thought you're helping the starving kids in Africa or something. But actually, that whole charity was started and run by a pedophile network. And they were, like, violating the starving kids in Africa and using that money to fund it and all that. Like crazy stuff like that is going on actually all the time. It's just narcissistic people got their heads up their butts and they're not paying attention. They're not paying attention to all that happening. So, sorry, my cat wants to be let in. Come on in, bud. Good job, buddy. All right, just thought I'd put this bit of information out there. Just wondering if, David's ever going to act on David Saint's thing of Thomasville, North Carolina, who told me if he knew of any people doing anything bad to kids, he'd have them wiped off the face of the earth. And then he told me that he made a decision. Once he makes decisions, he doesn't go back on them. He doesn't reconsider decisions he makes. Well, I'd say that statement is as good as a decision, right, David? Right? You made the statement. If you knew of any people doing bad things to kids, you'd have them wiped off the face of the earth. I would say that statement is as good as a decision. That's a decision, David. You've got a lot of money, a lot of resources. Go ahead. Fund the cause. Get these people thrown in prison. Shut them down. Stop them from operating. Come on, David. Let's see if you're really a man of substance, a man of your word. Or if you really are capable of reconsidering decisions that you make and you're just full of shit. Like a cat, just the cowardly toad I clocked you as being. I just love putting these people to the test. I love it. I love showing people that it doesn't matter. I love showing, like, the common layman, like, it doesn't matter that they have money. What matters is the quality of their character. Okay? The money doesn't matter. Like, they get that any which way. They inherit it. They scheme for it. They scam for it. They take advantage of their employees for it. Are they pieces of shit deep down inside? A lot of them are cowards. Total cowards. No substance to their word. None whatsoever. And they're highly narcissistic, and they validate themselves with the most shallow of things. They're just disgusting, pathetic creatures. Actually, please don't give in to the glamour of the money. Ugh. That's one thing I learned, again, being educated with the kids of the millionaires. Like, money doesn't buy manhood, David. Unless you're going to hire a bodyguard to be a man for you. Then maybe you could say money buys manhood. And it doesn't buy integrity. It doesn't buy any kind of quality of character. Money's just money. It's a tool. It makes stuff easier, and that's it. Some stuff. It can solve a few things. Yeah. So,